This is a Blueprint small block 350 that came out of my 1988 Chevrolet Silverado, dubbed Cookie Monster. Now, this truck was built by Street Trucks Magazine, and I'm redoing the entire thing. And if you go back and look at my videos on this truck so far, you'll see exactly why. But this motor's only got about 500 miles on it, and when I drove it around in the truck, it left a whole lot to be desired. So I did the right thing, got with Summit Racing, picked up one of their performance camshafts. Got a cam card here. This one's got 525 and 520 intake and exhaust lift, so it's gonna wake this up quite a bit. Now, this motor does come with some goodies as it is. It has a 4-bolt main, you got aluminum heads, and you can go up to a 575 lift cam, and it also comes with hydraulic lifters. So I think this camshaft is really gonna wake this motor up and probably put us over that 400 horsepower mark. I also got to mate the engine to the transmission, get it set in the frame, and I also got AN fuel lines, brake lines, and a whole bunch of other goodies from Summit Racing, including some new Edelbrock valve covers to match our Edelbrock Pro Flow 4 intake, and new timing cover and some other odds and ends. And I also picked up this little organization tray for our rockers, push rods, lifters, and all those goodies. So this should help us out quite a bit. Looks like a thread's got chewed up a little on one of these rocker arm studs with some assembly lube. There we go. Chop, 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 chop. Chevy 350 cam retainer plate torque spec. 8 to 10 foot-pounds. Click, 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 click. Got our dots lined up on our timing gears. 20 foot-pounds. Probably should have done this earlier before I put it on the stand, but tried to get the flex plate off with this stand on, and it's just not happening. And the flex plate bolts are interfering with the bolts that mount the motor to the stand, so I gotta pull it off, take the flex plate off, and I can put it all back together. Yep, this one's got some teeth missing. All right, let's put it back on. Oh, come on. Probably gonna make a little bit of a mess. Oh crap, it tore. Dadgummit. I'm gonna try to reuse that, but gotta get another one. Had to make a run to the parts store to get a new oil pan gasket. Thankfully they had one in stock. Just gonna throw on our timing cover now. So Blueprint put some kind of silicone around on the block, put the gasket material, and then put some more on the outside for the mating surface for the cover. So that's what I'm gonna do as neatly as I can. But I lost my tip. Did a terrible job. Just come in and just usypię. Okay. You guys like your haircuts? Looks good. Oh, you got like a mohawk? Looks good, man.
I didn't know the paper was on there.
Yeah, man. I believe the torque spec for these are 9 foot-pounds. See that thing? Get out of here, bro. Ready? Here we go. All right, torque sequence. Click, click. Click, click. Click, click. Click, click. Oh, shit. Okay. Just like the timing cover, they put on a thin layer of some kind of RTB sealant around the whole thing. So I'm gonna do the same thing, because if it's good enough for blueprint, it's good enough for yeah, buddy. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Now with these Felpro gaskets, you really shouldn't have to do that. But we did. Because they did. Now it's time to torque it down. The bolts on the 4 corners are a little bigger. They get torqued to 12 foot-pounds. And then the rest of them get torqued to about 9 foot-pounds. So not a whole lot of foot-poundage going on here. Now it's time to start reassembling our valve train. Full disclosure, that rocker arm stud is smoked. So I got one on order. Hopefully it'll be here soon. Kind of been dragging my feet putting the valve train together just because I wanted to do it all at once. But I'm not going to let one little rocker arm stud stop me from putting this whole thing back together. That's when our valve train tray comes in super handy. Everything is laid out exactly like it's supposed to go back into the motor. Now each one of my hydraulic roller lifters are marked to show which side goes inward. And going to be putting on some assembly lube where the push rod goes and where the roller is. Now we can set the preload on our lifters, and this is incredibly easy to do on these hydraulic roller small blocks. And really, any motor with a hydraulic lifter is going to be very similar to this. Now your torque specs may vary, but what I'm going to do with this particular motor is keep an eye on our intake and exhaust valves. Once one valve starts to open, that means the other one is going to be at the base of the cam lobe. Then I could set the push rod to 0 backlash, and to set the preload on the lifter, do one final 3/4 of a turn. This is our cylinder number 1. This is our intake valve, and this is our exhaust valve. Now, if you keep an eye on our intake valve, you'll see this start to go up. And if you keep an eye on our exhaust valve, we'll see it already dropped down there. So now we know our exhaust valve is at the base of the cam lobe. I'm going to take my ratchet here, set this at 0 backlash. Basically, we don't want any play like this in the rocker arm assembly. So I have no play up and down, but I can turn the rocker arm, which is what you want. It's a little too tight, so we'll back it off a little. Okay, so now we did that. I could take my breaker bar and do 3/4 of a turn to set the preload. So this is pretty straightforward. You got a half turn, 3/4. Now this one is done, and I need to find something to mark this so I know that this valve is done, but I lost my grease pencil. Now I noticed over here that cylinder number 8, the exhaust valve is opening, and that means our intake valve is going to be at the base of the cam lobe. So same process. Let's set our push rod at 0 backlash. Now you want to keep taking your tool off of the rocker arm so you're not getting a false positive. There we go. Now same thing, 3/4 of a turn. Half, 3/4, done. Where is that grease pencil? All right, this side's done. We just got to get the stud for that one rocker and throw that together. And then this side, just got to do this one, and that's it. Time for that new flex plate. SFI certified flex plate. That's neat. Well, first things first, let's see if it fits. We got an alignment hole right here. Just like that. Well, by golly, look at that. All right, that's it. No, it's not. I'm just kidding. These are torqued to 60 foot-pounds, and you do it in 3 stages. The first step's 20 to 40 to 60. It doesn't call for any Loctite, but it does call for some thread lubricant. Let's see how far I can get without bracing the motor. We're going to start at 20. Got to do it in the star pattern. Come on. 40. 60. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Hey, yes, we can do it. We can do it. General rule of thumb is you don't want to draw the transmission into the motor with impact driver or ratchet or something. You want to push it into the motor as to not cause any potential damage. So we're getting really close here. I really like this lift contraption. Something I got from Harbor Freight years ago. You can adjust the angle of the motor, which is really handy. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like this dipstick tube at all for the transmission. Probably gonna be getting something from Low Car. Bell housing to motor bolts are torqued to 25 foot-pounds. Just set these old valve covers on for now. Just while we're moving everything around and kicking up dust. All right, let's get these torque converter bolts in. Then I'm gonna set the engine up to get ready to put on our last rocker when we get that stud. And I guess we could just throw this in the frame. We're gonna throw some Loctite on our bolt here. And these get torqued to 45 foot-pounds, if I can hang on to it. All right. Well, we got a problem. The motor is not going in to the motor mounts. You got these brackets that are supposed to go over the clamshell motor mounts. And if y'all remember, I had to cut them off of the frame because the last shop that put this motor in ended up welding those clamshells into place. The motor was crooked, it wasn't sitting right. So their solution was to weld it in. Now, if you look right here, this side went in just fine, but this other side, it's off by a bit. So the problem is, the distance between the motor mounts is shorter than the distance between the motor mount brackets that go over top of them. So the last shop solution was to weld the motor mounts in a different position relative to where they're supposed to bolt in. My solution is going to be to remove the motor mounts where they're bolted in place and elongate these holes on both sides. So the motor mounts will slide up, and that's going to widen this gap so that hopefully we can get this hole to line up with that hole. Now, to me, that seems like the obvious solution, but I guess when the whole truck's put together and you're on a time crunch, sometimes the easiest thing to do is just burn it in with a welder. But again, I had a header that was hitting the firewall, and it just wasn't lined up properly. So I think this is going to be the way to go, and doesn't seem like it's going to be too much work. Well, after doing some more critical thinking, decided to take the material out of the clamshell. And I got pretty daggum close, man. I just did a test fit, just took some out of just the top hole just to make sure it's going to work. So I think I'm just going to clearance it a little more, do the bottom holes. Boom, there we go. So with just a little bit of critical thinking, I was able to get these motor mounts to line up. Yep. Well, let's water them out and get this thing in here. Ow. Freaking burrs, dude. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I tried to buy some nice motor mounts from Summit, and they just kind of suck. They're very flimsy. They were supposed to be black. They weren't black, so I had to paint them. And now they're kind of like falling apart. I mean, I understand I'm doing some modification, but geez, dude. You know, sometimes working on cars and trucks and stuff, it just fights you every single freaking step of the way. How simple is it to put a stock motor in a stock frame? Well, apparently it's not. Just got back from AutoZone to get my second set of motor mounts, and I know what y'all are saying. Oh, you always buy crappy parts. Well, you know what? I bought these Anchor motor mounts from Summit Racing, and they are trash. I could not get the passenger side motor mount bolt to go through the engine bracket. Super frustrating. So this is the beat up bracket that I modified. Can y'all see that? Yep. See how I elongated this hole up here and these holes down here? Well, if you line this up with this new Duralast motor mount, which by the way, a lot of you guys and gals say that AutoZone is trash, and I'm gonna strongly disagree with you there. Can you see that? The holes, so I put the hole at the bottom. I gotta hide behind this so it focuses. And then you look at this. You see where those engine mount holes are, where that bolt's supposed to go through? So I may not have to modify these at all. Now the ones from Summit Racing, the website that has some of the best parts you can buy, didn't fit. Anyway, already put the passenger side one in because I wanted to make sure it fit before I committed to this. So I'm gonna throw this one in and lower the motor down and see if I can get the bolt holes to line up and not make any modifications to this bracket at all. This one fit just fine. I can see the top of the hole. Ooh, maybe I could take my punch. Are you kidding me right now, bro? Got my little. Yeah, buddy. Dude, so with basically no modifications, I was able to get that slid in there. Oh my goodness, finally. Freaking something to be happy about with this truck. And now we get to set the Tin Works fabrication transmission crossmember from the old OBS frame stiffener kit. This is highly adjustable, so really should not have any issues with this at all. Unlike the motor mounts. TidWorks Fab also includes a transmission mount with their OBS frame stiffener kit, and that is what I am attaching this to now. We'll just get her eyeballed for now. Yep. Yep. Now let's set this motor down. Heck yeah, dude. Now we can throw on our brand new killer old school Edelbrock valve covers. Ooh, now we can set on our intake. Throw on our water pump. Torque these down to 30. Now, if I were building this truck from the ground up, which I'm not, a lot of these parts were already on the truck when I got it. Actually, all the parts were. I would not have chosen a billet front runner. Actually, I wouldn't have chosen any chrome or billet anything. I cannot stand keeping this stuff clean. I would have blacked everything out or painted it. But when it's clean, it looks good, that's for sure. I'll start with quite possibly the most important part of the accessory drive, in my opinion. The AC, bro. Give her a couple lugga-duggas here. Yep. Well, I didn't get nearly as much done as I wanted, but we made some pretty good progress in this video. I did get a chance to run the brake lines, so those are in, and did not get a chance to run the fuel lines. I still got to set the fuel cell in the back and figure out how I'm going to do all that stuff, but I'm pretty happy with the progress so far. It's almost time to start putting some pretty big pieces back on this frame. Gonna be throwing in the core support, figuring out our cooling system, figuring out our transmission cooler, figuring out our condenser, and then working our way back. Probably gonna be getting a body harness soon so I can start wiring up the motor, wiring up the lights, and running all that stuff. But yeah, man, it's just been a struggle to get to this point. It seems like every single thing I do to this truck is just fighting me tooth and nail, and it's driving me crazy. It is driving me crazy. Wish I never started this project, but I'm doing it for you guys. I'm not doing it for me. But as always, I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed watching me struggle during this video, why don't you check this one out over here? If you want to see some of the show coverage I do, you can check that one out over there. Or if you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be freaking awesome. I'll see y'all in the next video.